G'day.
G'day.
Thanks for stopping by.
Always.
In this video, we hit the Birdsville track.
Yay!
Well, was it worth it? Is the Birdsville track a destination in itself or just a means to get to Birdsville? Come and join us and we'll show you. We also share a bit of a regret we had on the way and a hidden gem that we found.
Yeah, I know. Out in the middle of nowhere.
So come and join us and experience the Birdsville track as we did.
Yes, definitely.
Well, we've just spent a few days here in Marree, about 685 k's north of Adelaide. A town with quite a diverse history, from its connections with the Garn Railway over 100 years. The last train from Marree to Oodnadatta was back in 1980. The Afghan Cameleers have a strong connection with Marree as well. And it's the last town on bitumen before hitting the Oodnadatta and Birdsville tracks. To end our time here, we ventured to the Marree Hotel for dinner. We ate in the Tom Cruise room, that's Cruise with a K. A tribute to the fella who did the Birdsville mail run. Quite a story in itself. Yep.
Yeah.
What you got?
I have got a goat curry with naan bread, and I'm not sure what this is, but it looks dairy, so I better not eat it.
Yogurty.
Yogurty. There you go.
Marree puppy.
That's it. That's the one.
Alright, today is the day. We hit the Birdsville track.
We do. For 54 kilometres.
Yeah.
As we head into Clayton Station for the night.
Yeah.
Must do apparently, so let's just do it.
Yep. So, let's begin the next leg of this epic adventure, eh?
Definitely.
We had checked the BOM and also with a couple of the locals who assured us the track was in good nick. We had done all our checks, fueled up and made our way to the track, just on the edge of town. Pulled in for a photo op at the sign for the Birdsville track. Let's do it.
Okay, this is their suggestions as we head into the remote areas ahead. I think we have most of those. Not sure about the spares. Ooh.
So just quickly, one of the things that we found about the Birdsville track is that there's not as much information about the things to see along the way around. But we found this web page that you can download an audio book and a map that shows you some of the attractions along the way, things that are worth seeing along the Birdsville track. I'll put a link in the description for this audio book. It's $20 and we figure it was well worthwhile. It gives you a detailed map of the places along the way that are probably of value to check out. It gives you a clear audio description of each of the places to check out along the way, because along the Birdsville track there's not as many signposted stops, so it'd be easy to just drive it and not really notice that there's much there at all. There it is, Birdsville, 515 kilometres. Almost immediately the road turned to dirt. Nearly forgot to put the caravan on. That would have been a disaster, the caravan full of dust. So for those who are not aware, the caravan is a dust reduction system that we had put in the van when we bought it. It pressurizes the cabin of the van to keep the dust out as you travel along. And this is it here. And it just, you switch it on, it's a 12 volt thing connected to the van so it runs as you're going along. And it just keeps the van pressurized. We've found that it works really well. It doesn't keep every bit of dust out, but what it does is stops the dust floating around in the van. So you won't walk into a cloud of dust. You might find a pool of dust at the bottom, at the bottom of a cupboard or something. And I'll show you that later on. I imagine we'll probably get some in there. And yeah, but for now, switch it on and so at the door here, you can actually feel the air coming out, like the pressure from the fan building up, which is what keeps the dust out. It's not particularly strong, but it's enough that the dust just doesn't go in. So, but the other issue is that over here on this side, near the fridge, it does get in here under the fridge. So I know we'll end up with a pool of dust under there. But again, as I said, it just seems to end up on the floor. I could actually cover that up, I suppose, to prevent the dust getting in there. But I don't like to stop the airflow on the fridge, particularly out here, although it's not that hot today. But I'm not that keen on it in the hot weather to block the ventilation of the fridge. Having said that, Murphy's Law, a road train roared past, kicking up a huge cloud of dust.
Bit dusty.
Whenever we see a truck like that coming, we'll pull over and let the dust settle before driving off, rather than trying to drive blind through a cloud of dust. Also, gives the truck a better run without a cloud of dust as well. The road was in really good condition. Bit gravelly, but no corrugations, so I didn't bother to drop my tyre pressures. That decision would come back to haunt me.
Well, we hear what we think is the Lake Harry ruins. There are no signs, but it looks very similar to the pictures we've seen, so we're going to have to assume this is it. Apparently you can camp here. It's a free camp here. Obviously there's absolutely nothing here. There are some fire pits around the place that you can use, but I tell you what, there's plenty of room. Lake Harry was an initiative by the government to see whether they could grow some alternative crops. So they tried to do a date farm out here and see if that would work. Anyway, it didn't work. There wasn't bees to pollinate the flowers, and there was corellas that wrecked the trees, and then there was goats who ate the trees. So it was a fail.
Then, just a little further along the track is the dog fence.
So the dog fence is definitely something, you need to see while you're doing the Birdsville track. However, the dog fence is not marked, so you've got to be, pretty on the ball to pick it. Let me show you what it looks like coming from Marree towards Birdsville. So heading north. So you come up to a rather large grid with so that's what it does when you go over. I'll tell you what scared me. So I've moved away from it. It's stopped, thank goodness. I mean, it just goes for miles and miles and miles. I'll look into it, but I heard that it spans 3 states. Goodness gracious, that's a lot of states. So the idea of a dog fence was to keep the dingoes out. Keep the sheep on one side and the dingoes on the other. And apparently it is very, very effective.
We had been warned about animals on the track, and it didn't take long until we found some emus wandering around. You never know where these guys are going to run to. We've arrived at a low-cost campground. The first one, we were planning to stay here for the night, but having a look at it, and we just spoke to a couple who'd come down from a bit further up the road, and they were suggesting there's a better campground up the road. But we were planning to stop at this one for the night. It's just off the track, which is fine because there's not much traffic obviously on the track. There's not a lot to it. It's got the toilets here, honesty box, $20 for the night for the car and van. You got a shower. You got the spa, the artisan spa, which is a bit appealing in itself, but it's probably the biggest attraction of the place. But there's plenty of room here, and it looks like it gets well used. There's different fireplaces all around the place, and as far as Birdsville track campgrounds go, this one will be fine. I don't see any problem with it. But apparently the one up a bit further is at the wetlands. There's a bit of water laying around, the birds and that. It's much better to check it out. So we thought we might go and have a look at that one and see if that is any better. This one is the Coolabah campground on the Dulcinea station. However, there doesn't appear to be any water around here or much in the way of bird life. Just a very dusty camp area. We were beginning to think maybe we should have stayed back at Clayton Wetlands. It costs $25 a night. There's no power or water available here, but it does have very nice amenities. We drove up to what's known as the Cooper and discovered the road was not as kind to us as we had thought. So we've had a couple of casualties on the trip so far.
I don't understand how.
The fridge doors come off.
Oh, look, the lids.
The lids off some of the jars have actually come loose.
But how?
Oh, bit of chili oil on the door there. So, bit of a mess. So I'm not sure what it is because the road doesn't feel like it's been that bad, and we never had that problem when we did the Unadata track, Arnhem Road, the Cape York roads. Just this one seems to be a bit diabolical for some reason, and it's not even that bad. I don't know, maybe it's because we haven't left the tyres down.
Yeah, very possible. Not sure why, but I'll tell you what, this is the worst we've ever had in the van. I don't know that we've ever had this much red dust come in the fans. Wow, Paul's really beginning to feel deserty out here, isn't it? So this is called the Coopers Creek Campground, and it is by donation. And here's a donation box. There it is. Yeah, I'm not sure how it works. Oh, you lift it up. Ah! What was that? Don't know what that was, but it was black and it was big. It was yuck. And all they have here is the toilets. They have toilets here, that's all they have. Paul's going to drop the tyre pressures on our van. He's thinking that might be why there's such a mess in the van and why all this stuff is happening. So here he is, getting ready to drop the tyres. What are you going to drop it to, Paul?
About 35.
35?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, you can start at 35 and see what happens, eh?
So it's 55.
Gee, it's quite hard for these roads, isn't it? Probably should have checked that before we left, Paul.
So we've discovered that even on pretty good dirt roads, it pays to drop your tyre pressures.
And I thought the flies were bad at the ruins over near Beltana. No, changed my mind. It's here. Every time I walk, oh goodness, that's a TPMS. Really. Every time I try and hop in the car, about 20 flies follow me. Oh my goodness, they're vicious. They're vicious. How we going, Paul?
Good.
Good. So amazing, these sand dunes is something I've only ever seen at the beach. But here we are in the middle of Australia, in the middle of all these sand dunes. See, you learn something new every day.
Next on the itinerary was the Malka General Store ruins.
Says, yep, ruins. Yep, that's the one. Yep, let's go down there. This is the remains of the Malchus General Store. Look at that. Wow. Not much left now. So this general store was run for travellers to come in and get some supplies, have a rest. I want to see where the walls used to be. I mean, this over here might even have been a cellar once upon a time, because it's lower than the rest.
About halfway along the Birdsville track is the Mungarungi Roadhouse. It's the only fuel stop along the Birdsville track. A very welcome stop after the busy day we've had. So after all that, we ended up at the Marree Hotel, or Roadhouse. It was supposed to take us 2 nights to get here. We got here in 1. It's been an interesting trip up the Birdsville track. There certainly are a lot of things to stop and see along the way. We spent about 5-6 hours travelling in from Marree. So these Outback pubs, they tend to have so much character. Alright, we'll come into the Marree pub for dinner. So, menu, a bit of a limited menu, but looks like half decent feed on it. But my main concern is there's no palmy. So I'm going steering clear of the palmy. There's not even a chicken burger.
You know what? You'll survive.
See how we go. What am I going to choose?
Well, Paul, I'm choosing this.
Beef chicks.
Gluten free.
Pretty good.
I know.
Beef chicks looks good.
Oh my goodness, Paul, they are fall apart. So delicious, let me tell you.
This burger looks pretty good. The Marree Roadhouse has cabins and offers camp areas for travellers. Not sure of the price of the cabins, but the camp area is $15 per person. And you get access to tank water, showers and toilets. Reflecting on the first half of this trip, we were a little disappointed that we didn't stop back at Clayton Wetlands for the night. But it was early in the day, probably too early to be sitting around there in the heat and the flies. And we were back on the road for the second half of this trip. Our first stop for the day is going to be the Marree. It'll be interesting to see if dropping the tyre pressures helps with the dust and rattling in the van. The sign warned us about stock on the road, and sure enough, there were a few places where they were just wandering across the track. There was even one sign that said, "Slow down, stop hitting my cows." We think this is the water from the Marree pool. Interestingly, they say you can actually sit here and relax and enjoy the refreshing waters of the pool, but I'm not getting in there with them. Be you?
No. It's not even about the cows, Paul, it's about their poop.
They can have this to themselves.
So you see a lot of patches of what looks like pebbles or stones. I suppose that's why they call it the stony desert. But I'm just really interested to see what it looks like. It's a natural phenomenon. It goes for miles and miles and miles and miles and miles. But here's a little spot that is quite close to the road. So I'm going to pop over and have a look, see what it looks like. As you can see, it just stretches for miles and miles. If we were to pick one of these up and have a look at it, look at that. It's just a stone or a rock. And they happen really naturally. Don't ask me how, but they do. It's a natural phenomenon. Miles and miles of these kind of rocks all over the place.
So while Wenda's out on her rock expedition, I thought I just wanted to mention, quite often we've seen motorbikes coming down the way. And I know as a motorbike rider myself, I'm always appreciative when drivers in big rigs like ours slow right down, so that one, it drops the level of dust that you have to ride through, because as a motorbike rider you don't have quite the same protection as in the cabin of a car. And if any rocks are flying up, they actually hurt. so yeah, just a heads up, if you see a motorbike coming the other way, and you can slow down a bit. How'd you go with the rocks?
Got 6 of them, 1 each for the grandchildren.
Then just up near Mount Gasson, we came across this spring. Didn't seem to show up on any of our maps, so we're not really sure what it's called, but it was very nice to see this little refreshing pool, an oasis out here in the desert.
This is the Warburton track. 4-wheel drive access only. It takes you through the Simpson Desert. So you've got to be really, really prepared. It's incredibly remote. Have everything that you need. So that road is closed from the 1st of December to 15th of March because the temperature just gets so crazy. It's you kill yourself out there. 55 degrees in the shade kind of thing. And you get to it from the Birdsville track.
The landscape has changed so often along the track. We're now driving through these lines of sand dunes. And the road has become very rocky here. And then, about 130k shy of Birdsville, you come across this area here, which we think is a campground. So it does have an honesty box, which has got nothing in at the moment but a few rocks. It's not locked or anything, so I don't know how secure it is or if it needs to be even. It's got toilets here, they're flushing toilets. But yeah, if you're coming past here, there is an option to stop here by the looks of it. This is the track that takes you out to Inaminka.
Well, Paul, it certainly doesn't look like a road we want to drive down, does it?
Definitely not, no.
No.
The track looks very much like a dirt track.
It does. Apparently it's really, really easy to get lost on it. Yep, no, let's just stick to what we're on.
Yep.
The Birdsville track. The old blue Butte Ute. Pretty sure that's what it's called on Wikicamps and our little travel blog that we're following. It doesn't really have any significance. It was a blue Ute that was abandoned, and then some local made a mound and stuck it on top of it. So it's now become one of those things you look at when you're on the Birdsville track.
And once again, the road condition has changed to a soft, sandy track. Mind you, it was very nice driving on this after those rocky and stony sections back there. You could be forgiven for thinking there is a beach nearby.
Well, apparently that's Lake Uluru. I think you say it's something like that.
Then there's this section of the track that have been driven on after the recent rains, and there are deep ruts in the road. Fortunately, we're able to drive on the other side of the track. And here we are, the Queensland border. Not far to go now. Oh yeah, and letting the tyres down has made all the difference with dust and rattling.
I tell you, the minute you cross the border from South Australia into Queensland, it is really takes on a different look, doesn't it, the landscape? Yeah, it's much more green and lush. The track looks more like a track.
Not about lush, but...
Well, a hell of a lot more lush than it has been.
Certainly more grass.
Yep.
At last, back on bitumen. How nice is this? And there it is, Birdsville. What an amazing journey.
You have arrived at your destination. The route guidance is now finished.
Welcome to Birdsville. You made it. Yep, we did. Well, Paul, that was our experience of the Birdsville track.
And what an experience it was.
Absolutely.
Looking forward to exploring Birdsville there's a whole heap of stuff to do here.
Yeah.
So hopefully you can come and join us next time as we share with you our experiences of being in Birdsville in a bit of a quieter time of year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And look, so you don't miss out, make sure you like and subscribe.
Yes.
Helps our channel immensely.
Oh, it does. Absolutely. So come and join us as we check out Birdsville in the next video.
Thanks for stopping by.
Bye for now.
Bye.